Do you guys know what wunch means?
See them gather at the local show. Got to some business from their head to toe. Nobody wants them, they are destined to lose. In their black leather jackets and their black leather boots, they come to dance and scream and shout every weekend. And they all come out. It's like the freak show's coming down.
Why do you always have to be slamming on the table when you're not supposed to be?
Why are you here? I thought they were deporting you people. I am so washed out. Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm like Casper the fucking nightmare ghost. We gotta change that. But like, oh no.
I don't even know how to do.
No, just
How do I get out of this now?
you can't get out of this.
All right.
Yep. That just don't touch. Don't touch.
Well, they gave me a
Don't touch
goddamn
it.
mouse.
Oh, look at that. Wow, dude, I can't
You're
fucking
a
somebody
white.
turn off a light. Turn off one of the lights up there. Right? No, right, turn off. Right there. Nope.
That did not work.
The other one.
Oh my god, you look worse.
Oh. Wow. Shit. All right. Well,
anyway,
we're gonna work on this. Do we have a?
you know what you should do? I'm Gizz Lazlo.
I'm just fucking white ass Paul.
Welcome to another episode.
Another. This is like episode 4020.
Something like that. It feels like 4,000.
I can only see
21.
my eyes.
I don't even want to look in your eyes.
Oh, you do.
Okay, well, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube
And
New podcast.
Let's blast out the sponsors: Headline Records, Transplants Brewing, MEOWZ in Pasadena, Riot Manufacturing. I can't read that. It says Licorice Pizza. The Tattoo Room. Go see Danielle and get a tattoo, please. She's awesome.
Mhm.
We all hope Sean's still alive and doing really well. You can buy merch on our website, I think, and we'll make it for you if you can't.
Yep.
And this is the worst lighting I've ever. I think it's actually Metal's head.
From what I remember, from what I do remember from last week, I don't remember too much from last week.
No,
It
you
was
don't.
a great show. Thank you again.
Love you guys.
Really,
Casey, I'll
buddy.
call you back shortly.
This monitor is a lot whiter than
Now, what does it look like on not this monitor?
it looks great.
10 out of 10.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
oh,
You look
Wow.
okay.
I know,
Come-
I mean,
You come look at this.
I know what it looks
It's
like.
fucking wrong.
Jeez. Looks like he got sunburned by snow.
That's not even real.
Oh. No, we're good.
Yeah, this will look all right.
We're good.
The mustache is coming in. I'm going full Wyatt Earp on this one. That's good too.
Full white herb.
Yeah, Wyatt
Really?
Earp.
Wow.
I'm going Sam Elliott.
All right. Well, let's start the show, huh?
Do we have to?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Well, as I've been doing for the last few weeks, celebrating our friends and punk rock icon birthdays. So this week we got some good ones. Today we have 2 birthdays to celebrate. Carlos from Burger Wolf.
Oh, fuck yeah. Hey,
Today's
Carlos.
his birthday. Happy birthday, brother. James Brogan from Sam I Am and Social Unrest. Today's his birthday. This week we have Louis Elevitz from Video Louis. He did a lot of the videos back in the 80s and 90s, from Fenders and the Olympic. And he's lives in my town. So I've known him for a very long time. Really cool.
Hotosville?
So yeah. And so happy birthday, Louis. Ron Emery from TSOL, his birthday's this week. Pikey from Pirate Punks, his birthday's this week. Martin Vesser from Last Punk Rocker Records in Leipzig, Germany. And then one bit of bad news from this week is Dale Henderson, Dale Wolf from Beowulf, passed away this week.
I saw that.
He was a really good friend of mine. Met him probably 25 years ago, and got to see Beowulf many times. Grew up listening to the band. So rest in peace, homie. We miss you, and Paul Yamada as well, their
Dale,
bass player who passed
Paul.
away many years ago. So
Put them in your playlist. Get their family some money.
this one's for you guys. I'm drinking for 2.
You're pregnant again?
Yes.
Man,
Oh,
would you grab that fan and put it so it's facing that way? It's just warm over here next to fucking Fuzzy.
I am hot. I run hot. So how was your week?
Man, it has been a tough week. A lot of work, a lot of nonstop, a lot of very tired. I mean, not to shortcome anybody, but just a lot of like kind of running around with things and just figuring it all out. And then yesterday I had a diverticulitis moment, which took me out for about 3 hours, and I just worked through it as best I could. And then last night I went to sleep about 9 o'clock. I was like, that's it. Nope, fucking tired. Going down. Boom. Feel a lot better today. Never eat Little Caesars ever again. Fuck you, Little Caesars.
Dude, like,
No, the pizza place. Not the
Not the
best
band.
band in the world that made millions of dollars. No, just put it in the hallway and point it.
So
How'd you do? How's your week going?
My week, again, like, in the last month I've lost 4 friends, and it's just, I'm trying not to let it get me down, trying to keep myself busy, but just with things that are going on and a lot of things that I'm trying to get prepared to do with the bands, and our business is just, I don't know, it's a little overwhelming, but
I kind of feel a little jealous of the people that have just left.
Yeah.
Like, God, you got out, you fuckers.
But we miss them, and
yeah,
but
I want to revisit something really weird. Can we do this?
Yeah.
If you send us a self-addressed stamp envelope, we'll send you a sticker.
Yeah.
These are fun. Like, this is the dumbest thing in the world, because we used to do this when we were kids. Remember the penny record clubs?
Yeah. Yeah. If you send us an envelope that's self-stamped, we'll send you some stickers and some buttons. And if you send us something that's funny and cool, maybe we'll send you a t-shirt or a mug.
Remember the Tom Hatton squiggle?
Yeah.
Send us a squiggle. We won't do shit with it.
We'll put it on the wall.
Yeah, we will put it on the wall for sure. We'll make wallpaper out of it.
And send us your stickers, because we do have a little bit of a collection going. And if you want to be up on the wall,
stickers, flyers, whatever you guys got. I mean, photocopies are great. We don't need high res shit.
Yeah.
This is punk rock.
So,
what do we have coming up tonight?
Well, our guest tonight is Mr. Loren Molinare. He's in a lot of bands. I remember him from the Dogs, the Detroit Dogs. I did last year. I had a chance to rehearse with him and a band that I was in a couple of times, and he's just amazing.
He's a badass guitar player.
My family comes from Detroit, so I got to really, talk to him about Detroit, and it feels like we're family, and I've kept in contact with him, and he's an all around amazing guy. And again, he's a
sweetheart,
really a sweetheart, but man,
talented.
The man can jam on that guitar.
Blows me away.
He knows how to play a guitar.
Let's pull him in.
Yeah, let's get him in here. Let's see here. Are you ready?
Add to the stage.
Here we go. Come on in.
What's up, Detroit?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Not bad, Mr. Detroit Rock City.
Yeah. I don't know if my lighting is good as you guys is when you were talking about your lighting here, but
you look white.
Well, that's good. Hopefully, kind of pale white. I don't know, but yeah,
you look good.
I'm not. I'm not a sunburn kind of guy, because I don't really like to go in the sun too much because of a bit of cancer thing with the skin.
They don't got no sun.
No, it's just
scared to come out.
No, just a lot of smoke from the factories.
Real quick, one thing that I do adore about
Loren,
about Detroit is that there's a Mexican town in Detroit.
What?
Yeah, it's called.
I've never been. I don't know, but I'm going now.
Here in LA, they won't give us a town, but they will give us Olvera Street.
Right.
I mean, in Detroit, Mexican Town is right down like where Tiger Stadium used to be, I believe.
My mom used to live right across the street from Tiger Stadium, the original Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember what there was. So the White Sox were Comiskey. What was Tiger Stadium?
Tiger Stadium.
It was just Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
All right.
Back then, it was just the team name and stadium. Now it's what, Costco Stadium?
No, Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, the old Tiger Stadium's gone. I used to go there because, you know, I grew up in Lansing and like 90 miles west of Detroit, right? But then I moved to Detroit after high school. But I used to go down to Tiger Stadium in the mid 60s with my dad to go to baseball games there. And it's like, I was terrified, like, you know, coming down to Detroit. It was the first time I really saw greaser hoodlum type guys, like, you know, with cigarettes in their sleeves and peg pants and pointed shoes. They looked kind of like juvenile delinquents. And I knew that's, I wanted to be like them, you know. So I got corrupted at Tiger Stadium early on.
Got your first pack of cigarettes?
That was the old Earl Weaver and Sparky Anderson days, man. Those managers are badass.
Oh yeah. Al Kaline and
brawler days of baseball. I mean, sports isn't really baseball. Baseball's not really sports. Baseball's more like a religion.
It's a pastime.
It's the greatest thing in the world next to hockey.
I do love baseball. Every other sport, whatever. I don't mind them, but
so let's blast off into this, Loren. You got started in '68.
Yeah.
With the original Dogs.
Yeah. I think I was in 9th grade when I met Mary Kay, who's still the bass player in the Dogs. And yeah, we started in mid '68, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing, right? You kind of like trial by fire, trial by error. But it was a great time to like put a band together, because of the hotbed of rock and roll coming out of the Motor City, you know?
Oh yeah.
Who was your competition back then?
You know, like when we started out in Lansing, it was all top 40 bands, basically. So our competition that we wanted to aspire to be like was Ted Nugent, the Amboy Dukes, the MC5, the Stooges, Brownsville Station, all that whole scene. So we had to get our shit together really quick because those bands, you know, were playing originals. I never really wanted to play cover songs, and I never could learn other people's songs unless it was the Kinks and maybe a simple Rolling Stone song. So we started writing originals early on.
When did you guys release your first record?
Way after the fact. So if we got together in '68, middle of '68, we didn't, even though we had done some recording in the early '70s, it wasn't until we moved to Los Angeles here in '75 and our first single came out, and we did the song John Rock and Roll Sinclair, you know, a nice little kind of revved up Chuck Berry riff in honor of the MC5's manager, but that came out in '76.
Wow.
So I want to go back to Detroit a little bit. So back in Detroit in 1968, 69, 71, 2, like what was the scene like back then? Like were we like, again, this is a greaser thing. It's Motor City. Like give me a rough description. Like what was that like, man? That's got to be incredibly cool.
It was. I mean, those were intense years of, I mean, Detroit, you know, with Motown kind of exploding out of there and all the people that moved to Detroit, especially from the deep South and, you know, everyone working in factories, when it hit the weekend time, boy, they wanted to, like, as the MC5 say, kick out the jam. So they liked their music loud and fast. And, you know, all the British bands would love to come play the Grandy Ballroom there because they thought like Detroit was the most rockin' audiences in America. So like I believe the Who's first gigs were in Ann Arbor, Detroit, and all those British bands loved Detroit. But it was just it was, I don't know. I think a lot of it had to do with people worked in the factories, and it really caused them to want to party hard and kick out the jams.
Well, yeah, obviously, you got the jams, Wayne Kramer. What were the influences at that point that you guys were listening to outside of that, like outside of MC5 and the Stooges? What were some of the more odd things you guys were listening to?
Well, the British invasion really had a huge influence on me. Yardbirds, Kinks, obviously the Stones and stuff, but even like the Everly Brothers was, influenced me. And then Mary, since she grew up in Detroit, she was really like blown away by the whole Motown scene. So she was into that. But British invasion and garage rock, like Question Mark and the Mysterians, and just the Seeds and all that kind of stuff was just cool.
The Seeds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Guided by Voices is Midwest. Like, there's so much. There's so much music that came out of that area that it was so influential. And like, it leads back to Husker Du and then the Replacements. And then do you remember listening to the Nils back then, like in late 70s, early 80s? You remember those guys?
What band was it?
The Nils.
I'm not familiar with them, to tell you the truth.
They're a Canadian band.
Yeah,
Montreal, I believe.
Toronto, Montreal. Yeah, they're Eastern Canadian. I mean, you should definitely do a deep dive. And then, how did you like? There's so many questions I have. Like, the influence that you had on other parts of music, getting the Replacements coming out, obviously you guys were part of that influence. Like, did you realize that when it was happening?
That the Dogs were an influence on other bands, you mean?
Yeah.
Not, to tell you the truth, not until Slash Your Face was put on Killed by Death series and sometime in the late 80s, I think that was. And I started getting not email, because there was no email then, but mail from Europe and Japan saying that like we were an influence on him. And we realized then that we actually had fans in Europe and Japan that especially in Japan, like with Teen Generant and those punk bands in Tokyo, that we had some sort of influence on them. And then I've met several people over the years here in the States. We had no idea that Slash Your Face meant anything to anybody when it came out. It was like 15 years after the fact, I think.
Who would be your favorite band that you influenced, that your band influenced? What do you think is the most proud influence you have?
Oh God. I think some of the like Teen Generate and one other band from Japan. I'll think about it here. The Gimmies, they were called, but because there was a Dogs tribute album that came out in Japan, and all those Tokyo punk bands were on it. D4 from New Zealand, they all covered our songs. So, and they covered them in the way that they sounded. I mean, like a rockabilly version of Rebel Rock done by Jackie and the Sea-Tricks. And that's when we realized, when we went to Japan, that that we did have an influence on other people.
Now, how cool that
was my next question. Is like, how cool the fuck is that? Like how did that feel? Like
about us,
dude. Nobody's ever gonna do a tribute podcast about us, just me. So
well, usually they do tribute albums when you die, right? So to have it like because we did break up for a bit, and because we gave up on the dream. I mean, you know how it is. It's just really hard to.
How many years did you guys break up for?
Well, we took a vacation from like 89 to like 2000, maybe something like that.
11 years, dude. 11 fucking years.
Okay,
Jesus.
so that's less than 16.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you take your pills this morning?
No,
Okay.
I did.
I took yours by accident.
Oh, good. You're
Now my
high.
boobs hurt.
Lactating. This is one of my favorite questions. I love the sound that you guys produce. I love your vocals. What is your guitar rig? What do you set up and how do you play? What's your favorite thing to get through?
You know, in the early days, it was 2 stacks of Marshalls for Mary and 2 stacks for myself. Pre-master volume, right? So it was freaking loud wherever we played. Excuse me.
Don't throw up.
Looking at you. Oh, by the way, I love your shirt.
Oh yeah, great band. Love these guys.
Tex.
Yeah, Texas is an amazing writer. But these days, I mean, I still use my 1977 JMP, but I have a magnetone, a new magnetone that Billy Gibbons and Slash uses. I like. Depends on what band I'm in. I've got different amps for different bands to get different sounds. But
Yeah.
Marshall always holds a special place in my heart. So.
Well, throw me some pedals and cables. Like what are some of the things that you like to like dig into? Like, because that's a really fun part. I'm not a pedal guy. I play through a Randall and a You Dirty Rat. That's pretty much it.
Well, the Rat pedals are great. You can't, you know, I really like Tube Screamer's great. That works good. I've got a Nobles ODR2 that's coming in the mail, but you know, a Tumnus pedal I use for a boost, and then a carbon copy mini delay, because I like to have a little psychedelia once in a while with delays, and then a wah-wah too a bit. So
Oh yeah, Crybaby, that's it. Bang. I actually have a guy at my shop that I love to death. He's actually building custom pedals. So when we get a chance, I'll hook you up with him.
oh yeah, I had other addictions, but my current addiction is like I've got so many pedals, and that because you know you're always on the quest for the ultimate tone, and I don't know, it's like every other week I'm like going in debt with my Sweetwater credit card getting some new pedals. So, but
Man,
could be worse though, right? So
you're not one of those guitar players who is just plug into the amp and go guitar, chord, amp.
once you find the sound, he will be.
you know what? There is something to be said about that. Like my friend Brian Forsythe that was in Kicks and he's in Rhino Bucket. He'll plug a Telly straight into an AC30 or like a JCM 800 half stack, no pedals, no nothing, and he just rips, right? But for me, especially in a lot of venues where there's backline, I find that I've got to have some pedals to be able to get what I want out of any kind of amp that I plug into, you know. So, but I think you're a real man if you don't use any fucking pedals in my book. But so I don't know where that leaves me. But
I learned by using the pinky. I had a Fender Stage Lead 2, and I just turned everything up. I used my pinky to just move that thing around. And that was how I learned how to do it, man. How many bands have you been in?
You know, over the years, well, the 2 bands, the longest, they're like, you know, it's like how many wives have I've had, and that's another story. But no, I did not. But yeah, that's that's another podcast here. But you know, like dogs are like 58 years. Little Caesar's been like since 88. When Little Caesar broke up, and the dogs were taking a break, I was playing with Texas Terry in the early 90s. That was great. Currently, and I've played in a new version of Cruzados with Tony Marsico from the Plugs and Cruzados.
Fuck yeah.
And today I was in the studio with Tony because his new band is Tony Marsico and the Ugly Things, because we're sure not pretty boys. So, you know, the Ugly Things we're recording today. And so, and then Slam Denise is the fourth band. And, you know, we just had an album come out, but I never really had any intentions of joining any more bands. And like, for example, Little Caesar, I kind of like did that just so it would keep me out of trouble, because I was getting kicked out of a lot of parties in Hollywood in the 80s. So I thought if I stayed busier, I wouldn't have time to get in much trouble on the party scene. So but that thing ended up turning into a, you know, a really cool thing. Yeah, that was like a weekend hobby band that got signed relatively quick, you know. Because
You guys were on Gizz, weren't you?
yeah, and we had Jimmy Iovine as our manager, and you know, post Guns N' Roses, I mean, Geffen was signing a lot of bands in town, like, you know, the Hangmen and Junkyard, who we're still friends with and we've played with a lot. Their A&R guy signed Little Caesar. But just like Spinal Tap, everything that could go wrong with a great band, typical thing. The greed on the record company side, they tried to change us, you know, like example, they had us get Bob Rock, who had, you know, produced Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood, the Cult, Metallica's big album, and Bob was great, but the label tried to turn us into like Bon Jovi, and we were not like freaking Bon Jovi. We were like
That's more like anchovy.
Fuck you for
yeah, anchovies. Yeah, we were like dirt bags from East Hollywood, you know, and so everything that could go wrong did go wrong with a pretty cool band. And you know, by the time our second album came out, they weren't interested because we didn't sell platinum in 6 weeks, even though we sold a respectable almost 300,000 copies in 6 weeks. It really wasn't enough.
Fuck, dude.
Fuck,
I don't even know what that means. So okay,
So,
let me give you a weird one. What are your most eclectic influences? Like the most far outside the box?
guitar wise, you mean?
I mean, music, guitar, like anything. It could be classical music, jazz music, it could be whatever you want it to be.
You know what? Wes Montgomery was a big influence. In fact, the solo on Slash Your Face is very Wes Montgomery, octaves and stuff like that. So, and then obviously, you know, Chuck Berry, but the rockabilly stuff was BB King, and rockabilly stuff was kind of my thing. And another guy that I really thought was cool was Richie Valens and Eddie Cochran. You know, I did like that too.
Great.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear people's stuff, like, and kind of where they came from. I was literally last night, I watched a documentary on ABBA, and like, they were so much more influential than people really think. And there was a point in time where they were like, we're not changing our sound. And people said, well, why aren't you more like the Sex Pistols? Like, because that's not what we want to fucking do, which is actually more punk rock than the Sex Pistols. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear, like, with the most eclectic stuff, like something that nobody's ever even heard of or thought of. And to realize that, like, you've been influenced by this and maybe didn't know it, but learned it later in life. It's an amazing thing.
You said earlier, like, you were in 9th grade when you co-founded the Dogs.
Yeah.
What were your influences then? What got you to say I want to be a guitar player?
You just said that.
But
There was
like,
Chuck Berry and Eddie
but
Cochran.
was that like, were you already listening to it, or was it
Oh,
part
yeah.
of who you were with?
Yeah. I mean, from 6th grade onward, when the Beatles came out, I was into the British invasion, but I really started going towards the Yardbirds. I was fascinated by Jeff Beck and the Yardbirds
God, yes.
and stuff like that. And the Kinks were like, I thought Ray Davies was amazing, and you know, his brother solos and just the grittiness of that band. And you know, I liked all that kind of stuff. And then I don't know, and I think far as what band, I mean, I knew after the Beatles and all the Yardbirds in that early and the Who that I loved music, but it wasn't till I heard the MC5's first album, and it really pushed me over the top that I thought I could put a band together and we could do it. They inspired me to like believe that, you know, if they could do it, anybody could do it. And so because I'll tell you the truth, when I first started playing and stuff, I was so shy that I would hide behind my amps because I mean, forget talking to girls. I was too shy to talk to girls, and I was so naive. I never knew that you could pick up girls being in a band until way later, right? So
Wait, you can pick up girls in a band?
they say that can happen. Yeah.
Never heard this before.
I've heard it. It's never happened.
No.
I've
Yeah.
been picked up by more dudes than chicks.
Yep, I can confirm that right now.
You were the first one.
A sausage factory.
Sausage Factory. That's the name of your band.
No, there's nothing in my band.
Fear Sausage Factory.
No, gimme Sausage Factory. Oh man, so God, I have so many fucking questions. So, in the Detroit scene, when you guys started out, obviously you guys are a fucking amazing band. Did you guys get down and tour around with Stooges, MC5, and those Detroit bands? Were you guys in that scene?
Well, in '69, when back in USA, the MC5 second album, when they got kicked off of Elektra and got signed to Atlantic, we got to play with them in '69, and that was just like amazing. Then we met Dick Wagner, who's famous for playing with Alice Cooper, and Lou Reed, his first Detroit band, The Frost. He took us to Detroit on our first proper shows there. But you know, another thing, like we played with Ted Nugent a few times, and that was great because I was a big fan of the Amboy Dukes. And then we played with Brownsville Station. We played with the Rationals and the Fruit of the Loom. They were a 50s kind of freak show in Detroit. Pat Todd, who has a single out, he covered a Fruit of the Loom song for I-94 Records, which has their Detroit series. And when Jim Wren, the owner of the label, you can do one original, but you have to do a Detroit band. So we just did a single that just came out on I-94, and we did a remake of see if you guys remember this band or heard of them, the Ramrods from Detroit.
I do.
I actually don't.
Yeah, they were mid 70s, and I wasn't real familiar with them, but the owner of the label said, "Hey, there's a couple songs you guys could I'll pass on to you." And so we loved the song "Nothing to Do in Detroit," and it's a really fun song. It's about like stumbling out of your house, going to the liquor store, the factory time, you know, trying to make it or break it. You know, you're working your ass off. All you can do is fall down on the floor because there ain't nothing to do in goddamn Detroit anymore. You know.
Dude, Bruce Springsteen jersey shit.
Yeah, but be a punk rock and you don't want to be a factory rat, because my father in Lansing worked at Motor Wheel, and he was going to get me a job there, and I just didn't see myself doing that. I appreciated that he took care of our family and he did it, but I mean, I just didn't think I could do that, and just started playing in a rock and roll band. That's what I wanted to do, and go fuck off.
That's what punk rock is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as the Dogs, did you guys start touring when you were in Detroit, or did that start later when you guys came to LA?
We would always go, play Chicago, the Midwest. It got to a point where we were blackballed in Detroit for causing too much trouble, which forced us to basically move to New York City in late '73, which was a great mishap turned into a great thing, because going to New York in late '73 was right after the Dolls' first album came out, and it was starting to happen with the Dictators and Debbie Harry and Chris Stein. They had the Stilettos, and Television was there. So, and Kiss was happening, and so we met them, started doing shows with Kiss and the Dictators, and that was a really cool thing. We lived in New York on two different occasions, '73, '74, and it was a really cool thing, because it wasn't even called punk rock then, and all those bands were kind of, I don't know if it was even called new wave, but Talking Heads to Kiss to the Dictators to Television is quite a spread of. But the one thing that they all had in common was that mindset of indie kind of new wave bands, and it was really cool to see. And then we left that and kind of toured down south and got fired many times on this tour going to Florida in '75 for playing, mind you, too fast and too loud, but disco was happening like in '75. So we ended up kind of getting fired in Orlando and said, fuck it, we're not going back to Detroit, we're going to Hollywood. So we had a Cream magazine of Alice Cooper's favorite haunts, and so we got off at the 101 at Sunset, and we knew what was going on in Hollywood, and we kind of just lived here in the streets, and set up shop here. So rock and roll gypsies, moving to different cities out of necessity, but we got to go to New York before it really exploded. We got kicked out of CBGB's on that Sunday audition for playing too loud, but later on, I'm sure the Ramones and Dead Boys played really fucking loud there. But it's if anything, it's been always getting to the cities right when a new emerging scene was happening, and even moving to LA. There was not a lot going on here when we first got here, and then the Starwood and the Whiskey and started happening, and we started sort of a Hollywood street gang with the motels and the Pop. It was called Radio Free Hollywood, and the Pop even had the fanzine, and the Whiskey and Starwood started booking bands. We were lucky. Our first show at the Starwood was. We were the opening band, then Quiet Riot with Randy Rhoads, and then Van Halen. And the funny thing was, the Dogs could play with bands like that, or the Ramones, or AC/DC, or Ted Nugent. So we played with AC/DC at the Whiskey 3-night stand, their American debut. That's fucking cool, man. We love it.
So,
enough said.
I would posit a thing like, so when the actual kind of like the tempo of rock and roll changed, and there became a little bit more aggression, a little more angst, a little more like what the fuck is going on moment, and that's kind of when it kind of turned into punk rock, right? That's why I still don't think X is a punk band. Sorry, but like, back, like circle jerks when that started. When like you were here, right? You were in the middle of that. Like, how do you look? Not how you felt then when it happened, but how do you look back on that and see what that turning point was? What do you think about it now?
You know, there was a turning point because, like, when I mentioned about AC/DC coming here, everyone was going, "Oh, it's like Australian punk rock," but they're not punk rock. They were just like kick-ass
Metal.
fucking band, you know? Um, and you know, the mask hadn't really opened up here in Los Angeles yet. It soon was opening, and I remember the early dog shows. Keith Morris would be there watching us, yelling at us, play LA Times, the song we had, and Greg Ginn and those guys in Black Flag were hanging out. You know, so and then the mask opened up and that's when the hardcore scene started happening. Um I thought it was great. I thought when the hardcore scene and the mask scene opened up, you didn't have to be a virtuoso on your instrument. You didn't have to look like one of the shiny, beautiful people. You could be whatever you were, and it was accepted in that early mass scene, you know. And look how many great bands came out of that. You know, the Bags, the Go-Go's, the Skulls, the Weirdos. I mean, on and on. You know, we only played there once. We played with the Rubber City Rebels and everything. But you know, I think in hindsight, Paul, you asked me like, what do I think? Thinking back, it got to the point where I think the mass crowd and the hardcore scene thought that we were like Journey and we played our instruments too good and we weren't kind of fly by night, kind of tagging and torn like the mass scene was, and that's why we ended up moving to England because we couldn't get arrested after a while, even though all the big shows that we did here. And you know, we end up always pulling a geographic. If it doesn't work here, we go fuck it. We're moving to London. So that's when we moved to London, in fall of '78 into '79. And let me tell you, that was a big fucking wake up call going there.
Yeah. Oh, how did that feel? Like what was that like?
Well, it was like a dream come true, and another chapter in being like Spinal Tap because the English management that brought us there pulled out, and the money people 2 weeks after we got there. So everything, because they told us, they said, just sell everything you got in LA and just move to England, and you can be like Jimi Hendrix and make it. You know, we were kind of naive. We shouldn't have like sold everything and moved there, but
Such
it
a
was a
whiny dude.
it was a fascinating time to be there because punk rock was kind of winding down from what it was in '76, and the emerging British new metal scene was starting with Judas Priest, Saxon. So our first gig, we had punkers pogoing, spitting on us, and then you had young metalheads in denim jackets with buttons headbanging, and we thought that was really cool. The molding or the mixing of punk and metal together. And you know, so we did probably 25 shows around England and Ireland, and then we ended up having to be squatters in North London in January, and that's when it got kind of rough. So we went back home to Detroit, you know, and got to kind of limp back to America and had to rethink everything.
Ugh.
And that's where that 11-year hiatus started.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, look at your notes.
I gotta research.
No, my earbuds went out. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay. We want to talk a bunch of shit about him right now. You can't hear us.
God, I can hear you. I can hear you clear. You can talk all the shit you want. Yeah, I've heard it all. No, maybe not. No, but so that was '79, and basically, you guys will love this. I told Mary Kay and our drummer Ron Wood when we got back to Michigan. I said,
Wood.
I go, you know what? I'm not going back to Hollywood. I'm going to quit the music business. I feel like I've slammed my head against the wall in Detroit, New York, LA, and now London. I'm going to stay in Michigan to be a farmer. And they go, you don't want to do that. Come back to Hollywood. So we ended up coming back to LA and like mid 80, something like that, and tried to change the band a bit. Um, and it just
How
kind of
did the Little Caesar thing come into play?
that didn't happen for a few years until we put the Dogs back together, like maybe like 84. The Dogs was back with another drummer because our original drummer quit and then he joined Channel 3. The
Oh
great
shit!
guys from down in Orange County. Love those guys, Kim and Mike. And so we started doing our thing in 84 again and almost got signed to Atlantic Records at the same time Little Caesar was getting ported by every label and getting signed. And then when Atlantic passed on the Dogs, I decided to put it on hiatus because our manager said, look, and dig this, nobody gets signed at 36 years old back in those days. If you were over 22, they thought you were over the hill. But I was 36 when Little Caesar got signed. So I did that. And, as we talked about it, it ended up not panning out either. But it was a great experience from 88 to kind of 93. And then it was over. And
Because
then
of
we put
Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Well, I mean, that was overwhelming, overeating color fast story.
Overeating
like-
color fat.
Like, I mean, the fact that you guys they're recorded so much by such big labels, like, did you like find a place of pride in that? And like at the time that it was happening, did you realize that people like really were impressed by what you were doing, or were you just kind of like just doing your thing and kind of like glossing over it?
Well, we knew that it was a big deal to have, Jimmy Iovine as your manager and Geffen Records. And in that band, that first album was great. I mean, you got a lead vocalist that sounds like Otis Redding meets Sam Cooke kind of stuff. And then it was kind of a AC/DC backbone with a punk rock guy like myself. So you had like Stooges meets AC/DC meets Motown sort of, and yeah, and I mean, even that band, we broke up and then we got it back together in the early 2000s. And since we put it back together, we've been to Europe 10 times, like over the last 10 years. So, and was just in England like last September. But any band that I'm in, it's not easy out there. Gizz, you tour all the time. It's like, at this point, I kind of feel like a jazz musician in the 30s. You just do it because you have to do it and you love it. And there is no big payoff and nobody gives you tour support. You have to you have to really eat some shit and love the taste of shit because
I
that's
love
what,
corn dogs.
yeah. And, I mean, the old black blues guys, they did it till they died,
Yeah.
and I'm not a black bluesman, but I'm a white trash rock and roller. And I'm 72, Mary on bass is 77, and we're just going to do it until we can't do it anymore. What else we're going to do,
Yeah. That's what the first night that we met, and we actually met in this room.
Yeah.
And I remember
I was there.
we were just discussing music, and the one thing that I could tell when we were outside during our break was that we do this because we love it. We don't do this because of the pay. It's not that recognition of, oh, you're a rock star. No, we were born to do this shit.
So, Loren, what did you do with your first million?
The million.
Your inhaler. Take your inhaler.
I'll tell you about that first million, Paul. The day Little Caesar's CD came out, I get maybe there was mine, but CD, we were $1 million in debt. And so we had to sell platinum just to fucking break even. No wonder we started drinking way more.
What? Wait, I don't know what you were saying just now. You were just
Let me have a drink.
You're breaking up. I couldn't. So you're sober now. How long have you been sober?
Let's see. God willing, I've been 34 years in January. I have.
God.
Right on.
damn.
So I would actually, then this is something that I want to do is, if there any advice you'd like to give to people about that journey that you've had.
The rock and roll journey or sobriety
No,
journey?
sobriety.
You know what? I mean, I had a lot of great times, and I mean, it got to the point for me personally that the word moderation just kind of left my vocabulary, and it got to the point where I just didn't enjoy doing it anymore, and it wasn't fun. I wasn't fun, and I didn't like myself anymore. Thank God that Little Caesar and Geffen Records um, didn't get rid of me. I know some of the management did, and people said, "Oh, well, he'll crash and burn, and maybe he'll get it together and stuff like that." But it's like it didn't even matter to me that we were getting $1 million record deal. I could care less. But luckily for me, I did get sober after the album was done, and I worked with a guy that had worked with Aerosmith and Motley Crue and those kind of people like that, and kind of got me into the program. And I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I met in those early days. And um, yeah, it's like if you don't enjoy it anymore, why do it? And this is the best part. When I got sober, the management came out to the Spectrum in Philly. We were opening for Kiss, and the manager Tony Ferguson said, "If I didn't know you were sober, you act more fucked up on stage than you did when you were fucked up." And I went, "Bingo, that's it." So, I mean, I don't know. I have a good time without doing anything, and I can still like jump around like a fool on stage at 72. And
Because you're
yeah.
skinny, fucker.
That's not true. No,
No.
but I do think it's important for people to hear those words, and like there are people that need help and they want to look up to somebody who says those things. And I think it's really important that we make sure we broadcast that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it used to be I mean it was easy for me to say that I was a drug addict, but for me to just say I was an alcoholic, I couldn't spit that out when all my friends I used to get kicked out of parties, punk parties in Hollywood, and they say you're not allowed here anymore. And I thought, well, you're just as fucked up as me. And they said, no, you're more fucked up. So but I can have a good fucking time without anything. And I'm not a Nazi about people drinking or do drugs. It's anybody's own personal business what they do. I mean, like I said, I had a lot of great times over the years. So
Well, I think those words give people confidence to look at themselves inwardly and to think, hey, you know what? Maybe I should think about that. And I think that's a part of this show, and it's a part of what we do is, documenting people's histories and to ask questions like that. Like somebody's going to hear that, and somebody's going to go like, fuck, maybe I should think about this.
well, a lot of my friends and a lot of people in the industry, it's just like the music industry, it's like either you're dead or you're in jail or you're like hanging out in the sober crowd. I mean, like I said, if you know the word moderation and your life is in control and you enjoy it, then that's not a problem. But I think more than ever, it's like accepted in our society that drugs and alcohol causes problems, and nobody looks down on anybody anymore if you have a problem with it. So it's as they say, it's the best ticket in town. So, in my point of view.
So now that we've introduced you to the Nils, which you should watch because Carlos is a friend of the show, also sober. What's coming up next? What are you guys doing?
Fun stuff. Tony Marsico and the Ugly Things are playing with Pat Todd this coming Saturday night at MEOW. And then I leave the next day with Rob Clennell, the drummer, and the Dogs, and we're going to play an unsanctioned gig, punk rock bowling weekend
At the Red Dwarf?
at the Red Dwarf in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And playing with Gob Patrol and Soldiers of Destruction and Talking Bones. And then right after that, the Dogs go to San Francisco, playing with the Screaming Bloody Marys June 7th at Hotel Utah. So
Oh, I just played there on my most recent tour. I love that place.
They
Have you
kicked
played
him
there
out.
yet?
They kicked him out.
Have you played at the Hotel Utah yet?
Oh no, but it seems like it's going to be a cool place. You liked
It's
it?
a badass fucking place, dude. It is a
Oh,
badass.
I can't wait. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you one thing. When you walk through the front door of the bar and you look to the right, look up. And I'm not going to tell you what you're going to see, but it's fucking amazing.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Scary.
Walk in and look up to the right.
Big. Just.
And then go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm confused.
I'm very interested and slightly confused too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's a great stage. The history of the building.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's just it's amazing. Like it used to be, from what I understand, it was it used to be pier side. Like there used to be
Yeah.
a pier near
It
there.
was actually at the pier, and they built it out forward.
And then all the wood that they built that hotel with
White people.
is wood that came from boats that were abandoned.
Yeah.
When that
Wow,
pier
okay.
right up.
That story,
So-
I could do a whole podcast on that story
Yeah,
alone.
it's a cool venue. It's a cool venue. I just played there like 2 months
4
ago,
weeks,
3 months ago.
7 years.
Yeah.
Decade.
Gizz, you've been like playing all over the place. You
Oh, dude, I love touring. I love playing shows, and I'm just, I'm blessed to be in a band who wants to do it too.
Yeah.
We're all in our 50s, and everybody's like, fuck it, man. This might be our last,
It is.
grasp at youth. Let's go, and everybody in my band is sober. I'm the only one that drinks, so I get all their drink tickets. So that's
It's not good.
What a
That's-
deal! What a deal! Yeah.
and like I remember back in the 90s touring with a couple of these guys and other bands, and every hour we pull over for booze. Now it's like every hour we pull over to pee, and it's just 5 old guys in a van, and all we do is laugh, and it's amazing. There's no arguing, there's no egos. Me, but it's just again, like you said, it's ingrained in us. We were born to do this, and it's fun. And I don't see how somebody who's been a musician 30, 40, 50 years can say, you know what, this is not for me anymore. If it's not for you anymore, was it ever? To me, sometimes that's my
I mean,
question.
I actually, I will back that up and say that this is what I've always wanted to do, is be behind a microphone and be in this place. And I never put enough
Well, you
time
definitely have a
into it.
face for radio.
No.
Yeah. You guys
Getting
are
to
like,
do this
you guys are like dynamic duo, but yeah, Gizz, we should talk and have the Dogs play with you guys sometime, somewhere,
Definitely.
someplace.
Yeah.
Are you guys in LA?
The Dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I live in Santa Clarita, and the drummer lives in North Hollywood, but Mary has been in Las Vegas for, I don't know, 10, 15 years,
Oh, I thought she still lived out in Michigan.
She did for a bit, but then she moved back to LA. Then it got too expensive here, and she moved to Vegas and with her husband and stuff like that. So she's been out there for a while.
Well, definitely. Well, in the next.
Well, I mean,
before
one of the
end is-
things,
before the end is out.
one of the things I've
a year
wanted to
ago.
do is I've got a loading dock in my shop, which is where we are right now. We could put a stage in my shop and have some bands play. I'd love to do like an 8 to 10 hour, like everybody who
You
wants
think
to
that's
play.
such a good idea?
I know
I imagine
you hate
ice.
stuff. That's because you're Mexican. But I would love to have like a bunch of bands come and do a song or two, even acoustic or not. We've done this. So,
Who?
oh God damn it! Our producer, this is not.
Producer, what did he produce?
Well,
he produced a sign.
actually Mindy produced this. The guy sitting over there was what a dick. Anyways, if we're gonna buy Dogs merch, where would I go?
Oh God, our gigs. I mean, I guess is we, typical vinyl, t-shirts, CDs. It's people just DM us, direct message us on Facebook or Instagram, and we kind of, mail stuff out and everything. So we have a Bandcamp site too, but it's really, basically our we do all our merch stuff at gigs and stuff. So, but we will ship stuff out if someone wants it.
Well, we want it. And whether it's dogs or Little Caesar, whatever you got going on, like we are more than happy to host that through our site and send
Oh,
out.
really?
Like,
Yeah. You
absolutely,
guys,
we're printing merch on our own, so we will absolutely be happy as fuck to like get you guys going on that stuff. We've got good hookups. We've got a heat press of our own. You want whatever you want to do, we got it.
I got a quick question, real quick for you. There's two bands that are listed that you were a part of: Ampage and Attack. Where does that come into play?
Attack was the dogs under another name because we thought we couldn't get arrested, so we thought we'd change our name to fool everybody. And then Ampage was a project that I got hired along with Earl Slick, who was in Little Caesar too, Bowie's guitarist. We did the Ampage record. So yeah, I never did any shows, I don't think, with Ampage. It was just a studio thing that I did.
Well, so Earl Slick is actually, he was on a video. So one of our previous shows, I think 3 shows ago, it was with Kerry Brown. He's a producer. He was in a band called Catherine. He's building a shop, building a studio inside my shop right now. He owns Licorice Pizza Records. There's a record press in my shop. We just watched him do a live take with Mick Fleetwood. It's just sick as shit. So yeah, we've got tie-ins there.
Kerry Brown's a cool guy. I've met him and with the Licorice Pizza thing. And yeah, it's cool that you've got that vinyl pressing in that area there. So
and he's got stories about it.
We interviewed him about 2 weeks ago, and he was telling us about one of the presses he had that he actually bought it off Bill Smith. I don't know if you know who Bill Smith is. He used to do vinyl for all the independent bands back in the late 80s, early 90s. And like at least 8 records that I've had, pressed on vinyl were pressed there.
That press is in here.
And he was telling us, oh yeah, I bought that press. It's in the back. So I took it back there and we were discussing it, and I took pictures and I sent them to some of the guys in my band, and the guy, Lewis, my guitar player, used to have his own label. And he tells me, oh yeah, they used to do, Bill Smith used to press bootleg vinyl of Elvis Presley, and the FBI came in and fucking, what do they call that?
They seized the fuck out of everything.
13 presses.
Wow.
And that's one of them.
That's punk rock.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah. I want a fucking bootleg Elvis Presley record.
Yep. I don't even know where to go with that one.
Hey,
I want a bootleg record.
So guys, I have a question for you two. I went to your website, and there's some really cool things that you like help emerging artists, and I saw this cool stuff. It's very rock and roll community based thing that you've got going. I mean, like, who's interviewing who here, but I thought that was really great that you guys have that on the website for the podcast. So what is that all about?
Oh, good dude. Bam, get it.
To me,
not just me, but get it.
Like this whole concept of a podcast. I did one about 3 years ago with a friend of mine from Canada, and it was good, but it was lacking something, It
was me.
And a year later, I re-met him, and just from our initial
20 minutes of blackout drunk.
Yeah, just talking, I immediately knew I need to have a podcast with this guy. And I love the fact that, and he's the one that coined this, that he's the crowd on the stage. And we have that different perspective on how we look at music, how we listen to music. You know, you and I as musicians, you listen to a song, we're already judging. You know,
I'm
the
not a
musician-
musician. I just didn't get good at it.
That point. You know, but like, you know, you and I, we can listen to any song. It doesn't have to be a punk rock artist. It could be American Idol, and you're listening to something and you're like, oh, the guy's got pipes, you know, he could use a little work. Or you listen to someone and go, that person's got it.
Yeah.
You know, or you go to a show and listen to an unsigned artist and you can go, that guy is brilliant. You know,
That's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah. When you see somebody, you're like, that kid, like, there's a band that I recently saw. They're friends of mine. 747.
Oh, it's fucking beautiful.
Their lead guitar player just turned 21.
He's
and is absolutely amazing. You know, just like,
dude, this
kid's got the blues.
Tigers
in
from
him.
Cairo. I mean, there's 1,000 different bands. Like one of my favorite bands from the 90s was One Eyed Dick and the Goddamn Liars. And nobody even knows who the fuck that is. It's like, this is amazing shit. And you get to recognize that. And he got to see it and hear it from experience on the stage and being a musician that was touring and doing stuff. And I get to listen to it from the crowd. It's a really interesting view on stuff.
Like this dynamic right now that I'm thinking about him, is that a lot of the bands that he grew up listening to, you know, I've introduced him to, you know.
Yep. And
in our conversation right now, listening to you speak about your early days, I mean, who the fuck? Come on,
dude, 68.
Who can say, oh, yeah, I've opened up for fucking AC/DC and Kiss,
MC5, Stooges.
You know,
I mean, what was the most obscure? Like, okay, what was your favorite band ever you played with? The most, like, well, not even band. What was your favorite time you were ever on stage?
Well, that's a.
The day you rehearsed with me? Oh, wow, thank you.
Such a prick.
Yeah, that was
That's what I wanted to call it.
Different gigs over the years have just been pretty amazing. I mean, from Detroit to London to LA. I mean, I think in the 70s when the Dogs were playing with AC/DC and Van Halen and the Ramones, those were good times, you know. And because you never had the front of the house sound guy telling you to turn down in those days where they do now, you know. So yeah.
So where did you play when you played with Kiss?
I don't want to hear Kiss.
Shut up. Co-host.
True.
All right. What was the question?
What venue did you play with Kiss when you opened up for them?
Well, the Dogs played the Coventry in Long Island City before they got signed. But when Little Caesar went out on tour with them in '90, we did Nassau Coliseum, Meadowlands, all these arenas and Spectrum in Philly, you know, all these kind of like the Forum type shows all around the East Coast and Midwest. So yeah, we did about 20 dates with them. And then they kicked us off the tour.
Dude, get over it.
And that was 1990?
1990, yes.
So that must have been.
What was the worst show you ever had?
Again, the day we worked together.
Worst show. Probably not having a spare guitar or a set of guitar strings at a show. And I broke a string at a ballroom in Michigan. That was a really bad show, I thought. It was embarrassing. And the headliner in the dressing room, I had to say, hey, can I borrow a guitar string? He says, don't you have a spare set or a spare guitar? I said, no, I hadn't thought about it. He goes, listen, asshole, I'll give you the string, but from now on, be prepared for the gigs. And that was one of the worst shows, I think, that I remember.
Probably the best advice you'd ever had, huh?
What's that?
But probably the best advice you'd ever gotten.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know, that's how you learn, by making mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully not, you know, in front of a big crowd, but yeah, you know, yeah, that probably was the worst one for me, I think.
What did we already discuss what your biggest show was?
Yeah.
I think when Little Caesar, Hell's Angels had brought Little Caesar to the UK in '93, and we played the Bulldog Bash, and it was like 60 or 70,000 people
Fuck.
at this biker festival, and which ended up turning out not real great because there was a lot of well, check this out. There was all these food booths around the concert area, and they had propane tanks, and the propane blew up, and there was major fires. And so this happened right before we were supposed to play, and our tour manager said, "You're not going. We're leaving." And Hell's Angels came on the tour bus, and mind you, like like Hell's Angels from the Bay Area or down here, they're American and they're like biker dudes, but in England, they sound like they all went to the London School of Economics. So very, very proper, so they come on the bus and
So full
you are
control.
playing this bus, turn it around. And so we did play, but it was kind of a strange gig after the fire. But a few people got kind of hurt, but that was a big crowd. I mean, I can only imagine somebody playing Coachella with that's like it gets so big after a while.
Oh.
Even 20,000 seater, you lose touch with the audience if it's too big. I that's why I like fucking juke joint punk rock places like 500 seats and under is my favorite.
20.
You don't even have that many fans.
Living room parties is perfect, right? Those are
I got a living room.
I love backroom gig.
I got a living room.
Bathroom gig.
I'll be there. Oh, dude, fucking bathroom gig. Oh, fuck, that'd be awesome.
That's a good.
Four
That's a
stalls.
good.
That's a good name for a band. Four Stalls.
four stalls.
My tongue don't work no more.
No, Loren, you are fucking awesome as shit. I hope to see you again soon in person. I know that you are dealing with a lot of shit, and my friend, I fucking love you, and you have all my support. If you need anything from this guy, call him.
We got to show those numbers, so
Yeah.
We got to play together soon.
It was amazing when I came down and we were jamming, Gizz, and then I met you, Paul, and just the whole vibe down there in that building where you're at, where you run your business. And yeah, I'll definitely come down and find out when you guys are down there. And I think you should think about, like having a gig there. That could be cool. That parking lot could hold a few hundred people,
That's what I was saying. Like, I've got the loading dock. I've got everything set up. Like, we can do that. It would be a lot of fun to have like an end of season show. We've been talking about that quite a bit. Like, we could do some fucking stupid, crazy stuff here and just see if the cops come.
Well, listen, guys, it was really fun to be asked to do this podcast, and I'm glad I met you before this because it's kind of like hanging out with my buddies. So it's cool. Thank you so much.
Dude, thank you, man. Thank you.
Dude,
so
seriously,
much.
your history.
You're-
I would like to actually do. I want one more after this. I want to hear more. Like,
Okay.
I could get really rude and deep.
Like, well, we want to do another interview, but with you here with us. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll come
in
up-
person would be good.
Or better.
So I guess I bored you really good. So if you want me back for more, I'll come back. But in person, though, for sure.
Definitely.
Dude, that would be so much fucking fun.
You got it. Well, listen, you guys, thank you so much. And one last cheap plug: the Dog's new single, "Nothing to Do in Detroit," backed by Inside Out. So on I-94 Records, on your
Sweet.
favorite
I'm
streaming.
gonna order it right now.
Yeah, or I'll just bring you guys a copy when I come see you. So
You buy it, I'll take the free copy.
that's right. T-shirts on me. So
Fuck yeah, dude. Stay in there for a minute. We're gonna go to the green room and have a little bet with you.
okay,
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Sure.
We'll see you in a second.
take care.
Fuck. We think we just broke punk rock.
Dude, this is why I love Mondays.
I
I hate waking up on Mondays, but I love going to sleep.
I hate I hate.
This is great. This is great. I love this.
Sponsor us out of here. So also send itself in a stamp envelope.
What the fuck did you just say? Just send us some shit.
Send us a self-addressed stamped envelope.
Don't forget to
stuff.
like, comment,
subscribe.
share, subscribe.
If
to
you don't,
Two
we'll beat your
Podcasts
ass.
on YouTube. Thank you to Headline Records, Transplant Brewing, MEOWZ,
Sure.
Manufacturing, Licorice, Licorice.
No, who's such a fucking nigga?
Licorice Pizza, and the Tattoo Room and See Me.
Yep.
I'm Gizz Lazlo,
I'm just fucking Paul.
and next week is Memorial Day,
We're gonna die.
so we might take the week off because we don't have a guest.
Do we have a guest?
No,
You
because
want to go to Scooter Rally?
we're thinking about going to Vegas for Punk Rock
Do
Bowling.
you want to go to Scooter Rally?
Scooter Rally? I don't know if you know this, but I'm not gay.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, whatever.
Oh my god, that time you
Only on
you're fucking there.
Thursdays.
So no, there's the Long Beach Classic Not Plastic Scooter Rally. I'll be there. I hope. Gizz will be on the sidelines because
I'll be on the sideline throwing pixie dust.
But if we can, we're gonna talk to D Piazza's or Alex's bar.
All right.
See if we can fucking have a little fun.
All right.
Fuck you guys.
So we'll let you guys know this week if we're gonna do this next week. But
we're gonna fail.
But again, you know what you should do? Come back next Monday.
Tune in.
Tune out.
Fuck off.
You retard cunt.
Yeah.
Good night.
Sign the fuck off. Are we out yet, or did we not get out?